Broncos country, what's going on? We're talking about the top tight end targets I got in free agency, ranked from 5 to 1. We're going to go over that. How Bo Nix and our Denver Broncos become ultimate contenders with a true tight end. We're going to dive into my top 5 here in just a minute. But first, guys, wanted to announce that I have opened up my VIP David Talks Broncos Discord 30-day trial. We got some of your favorite content creators in here, from YouTube to Twitter, all of that. Come talk with us about free agency. Cameron Parker's in here, Kodiak, of course, the great Zach Seegers, Jeremy Otten, Marky Sports, so many guys, but we got great channels for mock drafts, for draft takes. See you, Andy's in here. We got a crash out section and like prospect glaze. Even if you want to talk some other sports, man, we got that in on here. So if you want to chat with us every day with what's going on, feel free to sign up. 30-day trial, and then it's just a few bucks after that, just to kind of weed out any weirdos that might try and mess up the vibe. We're not going to have that with the David Talks Broncos VIP Discord. So come chat with me and the rest of your favorite Broncos content creators. Mic'd Up is also in here, whose show I was on last week, and Stress. So y'all come on in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh man, I forgot to show it. So yeah, here's the Discord right here. Yeah, so we got all these fun channels, and yeah, come talk with us. What's going on with free agency? Links in the description. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my top 5, guys. My top 5 free agency targets for the tight end position. What's going on, David? All right. Yes, our Discord's awesome. Everybody check it out. That's right. Links in the description. Just join. Even if you want to talk with us for free agency, it's actually free for you to do. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. This is my 5th. I guess I'll go from number 5 up to number 1. And we're going to start right here with Tommy Tremble, baby. You might say, Tommy Tremble, I mean, who is this guy? He's been in the NFL for a few years now, out of Notre Dame. A really athletic guy. When you watch his tape, he's a good blocker. He can get out of that inline stance very, very quickly down the field. Of course, wasn't in the best offense there in Carolina. And so I think that there's still a lot of unrealized potential. A lot of unrealized potential. And remember, guys, tight ends don't hit their prime till like their late 20s, okay? And he's going to be 25 when the season starts. So I think you can get him on a very cheap deal. Now, with what it's rumored that these free agents are going to make, it's going to be over expected. So it might take like $6, $7, $8 million a year to bring him in, but it's going to be less than what these other great targets are getting. But Tommy Tremble, ideally you pair him with one of the other 4 tight ends above him. That's like the ultimate scenario, right? But let's just say everybody's getting overpaid. Nobody's wanting to come here for some reason. You settle with Tommy Tremble, and I'm okay. So I guess we can go through some of the statistics here. Average 10.2 yards a reception, a couple touchdowns this past year. Can line up in the slot. I mean, 39%. That's kind of like Mike Gesicki stuff, if I remember correctly. But yeah, can get out of that inline stance and get downfield very, very quickly. I think he's a good blocker as well. Now, the pass blocking right here, it's like a grade 30, but I don't even think he gave up a sack this past year. Yeah, he gave up 3 pressures, 3 hurries. Like, who cares about it? A couple penalties is probably why his grade's so low. But somebody that's going to be good in the run blocking as well. And for what it's worth, he had a considerably higher run block grade, I believe, than freaking Adam Troutman, who was only on the field because he can block, apparently. Yeah, see, I mean, look at that. So you want to make an upgrade on Adam Troutman. I mean, we can save like a couple $1 million by cutting him. Maybe Tommy Tremble is your Adam Troutman replacement, and he actually has the ability to get some yak, to get downfield, make some big catches, and provide an upgrade in the blocking game as well. Still unrealized potential. A player like him coming from Carolina, he can definitely see a new level to his performance with Sean Payton and our Denver Broncos. Tommy Tremble, baby. Shout out to Marquee Sports. He's the first guy that put me on to Tommy Tremble. Kodiak wasn't expecting it. But yeah, he's like my sleeper guy. I guess we'll get to the next guy here. That's Tyler Conklin. I like Tyler Conklin. Wasn't used much with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers didn't like to throw to him for some reason, but he can do it all. 6'3", 254 pounds, still under 30 years old. I guess he'll be 30 once the season starts, but you could sign him to like a short-term contract. He can be a guy that I think, again, still had a decent receiving season, 450 yards essentially this year and 4 touchdowns, good red zone threat, a guy that can be great in the blocking game as well. I mean, look at this pass block grade. I mean, it's really, really nice, 78.8. And I guess somebody that can also line up in the slot. I was not expecting him to have 48% of his snaps in the slot, but veteran. He can show a young tight end the ropes. Maybe you pair him with a Tommy Tremble. And then, I mean, we're talking about maybe we just need to make sure we grab somebody like Arondé Gatson on day 3. We don't necessarily need to go with somebody like Colston Loveland there with our first-round pick, or Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson with our second or third-round pick. We could potentially wait on that because I feel like he would be a very, very good tight end for us. Now, getting to my number 3. I want to get to the salary. They're expecting him to sign, at least according to Spot Track, like $9 million a year or so. Maybe it's going to end up probably being 10 to 11 with just how, I mean, if Dre Greenlaw is going to be getting $12 million or seeking $12 million, who knows what these contracts are going to end up looking like. But I don't think Tyler Conklin will be the most expensive tight end on the market. My number 3 tight end is going to probably be the most expensive guy on the market, just released from the Jacksonville Jaguars, Evan Engram, 6'3", 240 pounds, multiple-time Pro Bowler, if I remember correctly. He's going to be close to 31 when the season starts, and just a tremendous threat out of the slot. He'll kill you. He'll kill you in the receiving game. Did miss some time this year due to injury, as he has at certain points in his career, which is also why I kind of have him knocked down on this list a little bit, is that, he kind of has been a little fragile, more healthy with Jacksonville than with the Giants, but he's also probably going to be the highest paid tight end coming into this free agency period. And trust me, any of these 5 guys, coming in here, I'd be thrilled with having on the Broncos, but there are some question marks for why I don't have him as my number 1 target. And I don't really know how good he is with the blocking. I mean, here he's had a great pass blocking grade, but I don't know if he's been the greatest blocker. I mean, I guess he's being utilized correctly there in Jacksonville. He's got a fantastic run blocking grade there. Was at 54, 55 the year before. So we'll have to see. But Evan Engram, one positive is that, he was a captain on the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. So he would bring some leadership. Seemed like he was really appreciated there in Jacksonville. But hey, you want to go to a winner, right? He's spent his time throughout his career on a bunch of losers, and it's time for him to go to a winner. Will that be at like $15 million a year with the Broncos? I don't know how I feel about spending that kind of money at tight end for somebody that's already over 30. That's why, my number 2 tight end, I still feel like would be a good steal. Mike Gesicki. I love him. He's fantastic. He's like, we'll get to my number 1 target. You guys can probably figure that out, but I think he's got some shades with how he moves with as Travis Kelce does a little bit, right? Kind of light Travis Kelce, or Travis Kelce light. But what I really like about his ability is the fact that he's 6'6". He has a really long wingspan, I feel. I don't know what it is, but it just looks like he's got really long arms, big catch radius, and he's a beast after the catch. No doubt about it. And he had a fantastic year, 665 yards, averaged over 10 yards a reception, only 2 touchdowns. But guys, I feel like he's a serviceable blocker. Like, he's not going to be an amazing blocker or anything like that. But, I feel like he does give effort in the blocking game from what I've seen. And I would love to see him. Oh, man, look at this. He took 68% of his snaps in the slot. Man, I thought he took like 40%. So, yeah, somebody that can be that big slot that Sean Payton has been looking for. Definitely an upgrade over Will Jordan Humphrey. Mike Gesicki, I think, could be fantastic. And again, you pair him with a Tommy Tremble, you pair him with a rookie tight end. I'm feeling really good about that room. I'm feeling great, feeling absolutely great about that. Mike Gesicki would be awesome. Now, Spot Track has his expected value to be, let me see here, $6.7 million a year. I think it's going to be somewhere between $8 and $10 million a year. That's just me. Because I think Tommy Tremble's probably going to get between 6 and 8. Mike Gesicki, 8 to 10, something like that. That could be interesting. So basically, you bring in Mike Gesicki and Tommy Tremble for the same value, give or take $1 million or $2 million, as what an Evan Engram would cost. That's interesting. Or a Tyler Conklin and Tommy Tremble for the same price as Evan Engram. Pretty interesting. But guys, I know we have spammed this all off season long, but he's my number one target. And you start spamming a guy for so long that it's not a sexy name anymore. But guys, do not be mistaken. Do not be mistaken. Jawan Johnson, I think, would be a star here in Denver. No doubt about it. He's a guy, 6'4". I think he's bigger than the 231 now. I think he's closer to 250 pounds. That's just me. But I think he's a good blocker. He provides great size, good catch radius, but he kind of reminds me of like Gronkowski light when he's got the ball in his hands. Just explosive playmaker. I talked about how I really like how Tommy Tremble like explodes out of his inline stance to get downfield on those seams and posts, stuff like that. Juwan Johnson does that, but at like a whole nother level. He is an explosive tight end that just hasn't had the opportunity to be utilized truly to his potential in New Orleans. Does Sean Payton say, hey, I originally brought this guy into the league. Now I can see what he can do. Now it's time to really incorporate him into the offense as a starter. I say yes. He's incredible after the catch as well. Can break a bunch of tackles. He can get downfield. He's a huge catch radius, just like Mike Gesicki does. Would be a tremendous red zone threat for Bo Nix. 548 yards on the year, 11 yards of reception, guys. Catching passes mainly from freaking Spencer Rattler and that random quarterback from like Fresno State, something like that. I mean, the New Orleans Saints were absolutely terrible. He also got 3 TDs. You can line him up in the slot, 42% of his snaps in the slot. So like he can be that big slot that you want, but he can also be an inline tight end, can block serviceably in both the run and pass, I believe. And again, what's really important to me is that a guy like Jawan Johnson, guys like Tommy Tremble, Tyler Conklin, they don't exactly tip your hand on what types of plays you're going to be running with them in there. Whereas like a Mike Gesicki or Evan Engram might dictate that a little bit more. Like I want Juwan Johnson. I want Juwan Johnson, and he's only 28 years old. He'll turn 29 during the season. He's like hitting his prime right now. So sign him to a 3-4 year deal at $10 to $12 million a year. That would be great. It would also take the need away from us or like the big need for us to go tight end in the first couple rounds. Maybe we then go wide receiver. We draft an Alec Ioman or a Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, right? Something like that, along with running back, or go defensive line. There are a lot of different fun possibilities. But the more I'm thinking about this is, why don't you just invest in tight end? I think you're going to get more bang for your buck at that position in this free agency period than maybe spending big money at wide receiver, for instance. And then you could go get some really great young playmakers come the draft time. So that's my top 5. It is Tommy Tremble, then Tyler Conklin, Evan Engram, Mike Gesicki, and then Juwan Johnson. And again, with a guy like Juwan Johnson, you could sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal. Bo Nix's rookie deal will, he still has 4 years left. So any of these big signings could expire before we have to start paying him big money. And I just think it's important that we get a starting caliber tight end in here. We're not banking on a freaking rookie tight end to do that at all in any round. I don't want that. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is this top 5 tight end room good, bad? I left Zach Ertz out because I just think that he's probably just going to return to Washington. But, he'd be kind of a cool guy for cheap. Anyways. I convinced you on Tommy Tremble. That's what I love to see. Again, y'all be sure to smash that like. And if you guys are late joining, you could also hit the link to join my Discord with all your favorite Broncos content creators. And if you are a content creator watching this, lifetime membership free for any creators. We just wanted this to be a really fun space for us to talk Broncos every day. And it's a lot of fun. And so 30-day free trial. If you're just a normal subscriber, then it's a cup of coffee a month after that, just to keep the Chiefs fans and Raiders fans out of there. So yeah, it should be pretty cool. Yeah, sorry, I was sharing the wrong page, I think. But here it is. A lot of fun, a lot of different channels. We got a self-promo channel, draft takes, crash out, mock drafts, prospect glaze, other sports. If you want to talk about hockey, trade deadline, I mean, we got it in here. It's a lot of fun. But I'll get back to your comments now, guys. Yeah, Tommy Tremble, a guy that hasn't hit his prime yet. We could get him on a really good deal. I like your opinion on if we got Evan Engram and add another tight end who gets cut. We could do that too, a really cheap tight end. I think it's important for us to add 2 tight ends, because if we can add 2 tight ends, then Adam Troutman isn't really needed on this team. And I'm not a big fan with having Adam Troutman on the team because he's a 0 in the passing game. And I just think you can teach guys to block. If you can't bring in tight ends and teach them how to block, then there's something going on with your coaching. But I don't think that's the case here in Denver. Bring in a couple veterans, cut Adam Troutman, draft a rookie, and so then you got 3 tight ends. You still got Nate Atkins, who can play tight end if needed, but he is your main fullback. That's a room of 4. Maybe if you want to keep a 5th guy, you could bring Adam Troutman back on a vet minimum or something close to that. But I just don't think he's worth $4.5 million on the cap right now. David says he's tired of the Saints players. Hey, I understand. I mean, Lil Jordan Humphrey did the old Saint players thing, like no favor this past year. No. But Jawan Johnson, he is legit. And I feel like, again, with his age, his production, just the type of like physical archetype that he is, whether he was playing for the Saints or another team, I would be saying that he needs to be a target from this team or for this team. But I'd be thrilled with any of those guys: Johnson, Gesicki, Engram, Conklin, Tremble. Ideally, though, Tremble is your second signing, not just some jag. I love this profile pic. Let's talk Broncos Muse. Yeah, let's invest in tight ends. Yeah, some of the other Saints players haven't worked out, but let's talk about like the other Saints players that we've spent money on. Like, who have we spent real money on from the Saints? Will Lutz, I would say he worked out. Lucas Kroll, he was always a bottom of the roster type of guy that costs it's like 1% dead money if we cut him every year type of thing. So that doesn't really. I don't really feel like that adds to the equation. That's like us bringing in like Kendre Miller as a running back. He's going to be a guy that's going to teeter on and off the roster probably. I'm trying to think of any other Saints players. Lil Jordan Humphrey, of course. But again, he ideally should have been a guy that's teetering on and off the roster onto the practice squad. Juwan Johnson he's a legitimate starter in the NFL. I can argue, if you don't want Taysom Hill here, I totally understand that as well. And it sounds like he might not even play this year. So we don't even got to talk about that. Man, it would be so cool if we could get Michael Mayer. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I think there is no way the Raiders do a trade with us. No way. And Michael Mayer, he's a starting caliber tight end. They got the luxury of having two. I don't think they're going to help us out by doing that. No way. No way. Um, but it would be interesting to go after a couple Raiders in free agency. They got a safety that I was very surprised that they didn't reach an extension or franchise him. Trevon Merrick. He's definitely made my top 5 safety targets list that I'll put out this weekend. Robert Spillane was a running back or was a linebacker that DMVR brought up as somebody that could be targeted for the Broncos next week. He's a little bit older, but if you see him as like an Alex Singleton replacement, I think that's an upgrade, especially with Singleton coming off an ACL. Are there any other Raiders that I would want? I don't know, but there are a handful of Chiefs players that I would want. Yeah, just wishful thinking. I wonder what would be a price too much to refuse. Maybe like a 3rd, 4th round pick, possibly. I'm not sure. But there are a lot of Chiefs players, man, that I would love for us to make a run at. And, we get better, they get worse type of thing. I would love that. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to shut this thing down. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments on my top 5. Do I have Evan Engram too low at number 3? What do you think about my sleeper, Tommy Tremble? Is Jawan Johnson worth the money, $10 to $12 million a year, something like that? We'll have to see. But I'll go through with this, like my top 5 at all the different positions before Monday hits. So we'll cover running back, wide receiver, defensive line, linebacker, safety, all that. So you guys can kind of know who I have my eye on. So appreciate it, guys. Yeah, be sure to join the Discord in the bottom of the description. Again, it's going to be the place to be, especially next week, if you want to keep up with all of us as the news is breaking. So y'all have a wonderful Friday. I'll be back soon. Go Broncos.